And good morning, I'm Carol Costello. Thank you so much for joining me. Americans may feel the economy is starting to recover, but they don't think it's a result of President Obama's policies. New CNN polls are out, and they show 53% disapprove of President Obama's handling of the economy. But when asked if they believe the economy is either in recovery or has fully recovered, a total of 50% say yes. Kind of weird, right? Joining me now, Rana Foroohar, who is Assistant Managing Editor for Time Magazine, and Daniel Mitchell, Senior Fellow with the Cato Institute. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Daniel. Rana, most people disapprove of how Obama's economic policies... They were talking in my ear and I lost my train of thought. Okay, so most people disapprove of President Obama's economic policies, but most, or at least half of Americans think the economy is in recovery or is in full recovery.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really
It doesn't quite square, but I think what that reflects is the fact that Americans don't think Washington had a lot to do with the recovery. And I think that there is this sense that 6-7 years on from the crisis and the recovery, Washington didn't do a lot. Washington was gridlocked. The Fed did a lot for the economy. Interest rates have been low for a really long time. The Fed pumped $4 trillion of money in. So there's a lot of liquidity out there. There's a lot of cash flowing around, and I think that that's what's really affecting things.
Interesting. So Daniel, politicians always play that game that they can fix the economy. That's not really true, is it? Is it?
Well, I think politicians can affect the economy's long-run performance, and I think one of the problems that Obama is having in this polling data is that we are now in the 6th year of a recovery, June 2009 till today, and yet median household income is still far lower than it was when the recession started. The labor force participation rate has fallen off a cliff. These are things that actually affect the real living standards of the American people. So yes, we're in a recovery, but it's the slowest one since the Great Depression. So of course people aren't overly happy.
Oh, yeah, and many politicians are playing into that, especially the politicians who want to be president. They actually talked about the state of the economy at a Florida summit yesterday, and here's just a sample.
Let me start first of all, by being honest about where we are economically as a country. I had the privilege of being a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford University, an Ivy League graduate from Brown University. I worked at McKinsey, a consulting firm to Fortune 500 firms. So I'm going to take all of that collective wisdom and put it in this very in-depth, detailed economic analysis for you. We have one hell of a mess here in the United States.
Okay, so Rana, is that actually true? Succinct.
Well, it is succinct, and I'm actually going to have to agree with that. I think that the fundamental problem with this recovery, which has been the longest and weakest of the post-war era, is that you have a hollowed out middle, right? People at the top have done pretty well, and lower income jobs have started to come back too. There's a lot of $15 an hour jobs. Minimum wage is a big issue, but everything in the middle is still very stagnant. Wages are flat. And in an economy that is made up 70% of consumer spending, if the middle class doesn't get a raise and do better, you're really not going to have a sustainable recovery.
Okay, so we're looking for ideas, Daniel, and we're looking to you for that. I mean, is the flat tax the answer? Should we abolish the IRS? Should we raise the minimum wage? What should we do?
Well, if you're talking to someone from the Cato Institute, I want to get government out of the way. I look at what we had in the 1980s. In the 1980s under Reagan and in the 1990s under Clinton, we had good economies during both those periods. And if you look at the aggregate data on economic freedom, the U.S. got better scores compared to what we've had this century under both Bush and Obama. So I'm not making any partisan points. You make government bigger and you have an R after your name or a D after your name, I don't think it's going to work. But here's some good news. Compared to Europe, our economy is going gangbusters, so it is possible to get worse. I just hope we don't go further in that European direction.
So, Rana, I turn to you for ideas.
Well, I don't think that there's quick fixes, to be honest. I mean, really, fixing the middle of the pie is about education. It's about retraining workers. And, this is an area that you could see some bipartisan coming together. Companies are doing really interesting things in terms of teaming up with universities. The federal government and the state governments could play a bigger role, I think, in connecting educators and job creators.
Okay, Rana Foroohar, Daniel Mitchell, thanks to both of you. I appreciate it.